If you want to know the particulars of how I do what I do, take a look at the book.
Nancy loves candy so much, she can't stop eating while she's talking.
The inn I'm staying at is known as one of the scariest places in the city. I'm not sure why people say that.
Nancy books a hotel without reading any online reviews first. Considering how many awful places she's been, you'd think she would do that all the time. This is the only time Takai works at the front desk. Takai and Miwako turn to look at the painting before it starts shaking. Nancy goes on vacation and accidentally uncovers a mystery cliché.
Do you believe me now? She does not want her here. Tell her to go. Now.
Before Nancy first arrives, Takai already believes that Kasumi's ghost hates her. Why?
Your room is on the second floor. I've already had your bag sent up.
How did Nancy's luggage arrive before she did? Nancy's train pass is in her luggage. How did she get here without it?
Did that do it? No? Okay.
George and Nancy ignore Bess's questions. George and Nancy are jerks. So Nancy can only use the bathroom every other day? That's inconvenient. The bathrooms are located far away from the rooms. Cultural lessons are from 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. These are awful hours.
Especially now.
What do you mean, especially now?
Are you here for a lesson today?
Multiple times, Takai ignores what Nancy says and talks about something else. Takai is a jerk.
There is a book to help in the chest.
Nancy doesn't get a chance to read the helpful book before doing the writing challenge. Actually, the helpful writing book is not helpful in the slightest.
Nope, that doesn't look right. Better start again.
This puzzle is way too picky. Fortunately, Takai has an infinite number of papers with Nancy's name on them.
And I'll have it brought to your room.
That is so not the name I wrote.
It's called River Heights. It's in...
Oh, okay.
Rentaro interrupts Nancy. Rentaro is a jerk.
Believe it or not, I was not always the saint you see standing before you.
Rentaro is sitting, not standing.
Can I have another Sudoku puzzle?
Here you go.
Whenever Nancy solves a puzzle, she has to go back to Rentaro to get a new one. Why? Does she really need him to turn the pages of the book for her? Nancy can't interact with any of the other guests. We're told that most of the Ryokan's guests are ghost hunters, but the only ones we see are normal people.
Screaming at all hours of the night.
Nancy never hears anyone scream at night. Conveniently for the animation department, we only see the guests from behind. Nancy sees one guest leave, but 3 families are taken off the roster. Miwako should be used to dealing with scared guests by now, but all she does is stand still and say nothing. She is awful at customer service.
I met Rentaro. Who is he?
Oh, Rentaro, he's my boyfriend.
Nancy continues to mispronounce Rentaro's name, even when Miwako and Rentaro say it correctly in front of her multiple times.
What do you think of Rentaro?
Yumi doesn't pronounce Rentaro's name correctly.
I should really get back to my paperwork.
What paperwork? Your desk is empty.
This could be useful.
Nancy doesn't take the envelopes with her, even though she uses 2 envelopes later on in the game. Nancy doesn't get in trouble for grading homework incorrectly. How did Nancy get a job as a teacher in Japan when she doesn't know any Japanese? Does Nancy's boyfriend know she has a hot guy as her phone background? Why aren't Bess and George staying at the Ryokan? It's not like there isn't room for them. This says the system uses an 8x8 grid, but it's a 4x4 grid.
I'll be teaching then. I should set the alarm for later. Can't set my alarm for then. I'll be at the school.
Nancy teaches school from 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. That is 15 hours a day. Nancy teaches school for 15 hours a day, and she spends every night investigating. How is she not exhausted? Nancy works 15 hours a day on her free vacation to Japan. Suki does not make for a good guard if literally anyone can turn her off.
Were you able to find the word to calm Suki?
Yeah, it's mate.
The code word to stop Suki is stop. That is not a good code word. A thief could easily turn her off by accident. The game makes a big deal about Nancy not seeing her reflection in the mirror, even though she doesn't have a reflection in any of the other games. Rentaro never fixes the mirror.
This looks important.
No, it doesn't. It's a card with angry animal pictures on it. Good thing someone left a pachinko card with unlimited plays here. There is no supervision at all in the baths, even though someone drowned here.
You're seeing things. It is just your imagination.
Miwako accuses Nancy of seeing things and dismisses all of her complaints. Like I said, she is bad at customer service. You can't go back and forth between the origami puzzle and the origami book.
He won't give away the secret phrases unless you buy one of the cats.
Why is buying a robot cat not an option?
He gave me this monster puzzle to solve, but I'm too busy with Expo stuff to solve it right now.
So have Bess do it. Don't bother me. George doesn't have time to solve this puzzle, but she has enough time to ride all the way to the Ryokan to drop it off and ride out there again to pick it up. George doesn't meet up with Nancy during either of her 2 trips to the Ryokan.
But then the guy told George, for such a captivating, beautiful, gorgeous girl, he'd be willing to make an exception.
The game follows up on Bess and Logan's date, but it doesn't follow up on Suki's creator flirting with George. This puzzle. Who put the certificate and newspaper article behind the portrait, and why? Why does the text box split this up into 2 lines? This puzzle. This puzzle. In real life, these train trips take hours. Pachinko reused from Game 13. Nancy's shoulders are 2 different colors.
The pachinko parlor. Try using the machine on the right. I have it on good authority. That one has much better odds.
Why would they make one machine pay out more than the others? And why does anyone use the other machines?
Your comic looks interesting. I should check it out.
The game forces you to buy this comic so Nancy will learn about EVP. This is a complete waste of time because Savannah's book also talks about EVP in way more detail. Random piece of paper discarded on a subway is crucial for solving a puzzle later on. George and Bess are on the other side of this door, but they won't come out to talk to Nancy.
You're learning to make bento the Yumi way.
Nancy does everyone else's chores cliché. Yumi puts a stranger in charge of her stand and runs away. She is bad at her job. Making bento. The bento boxes you make don't match with the various combinations on the bento menu.
Here's my key.
Yumi is okay with giving her apartment key to some random girl she just met.
Way too busy to talk.
How are you busy? There's no one else here.
My number is 075-021-5855.
Nancy gets Yumi's phone number, but Yumi doesn't get Nancy's. So how is Yumi able to send Nancy messages? Yumi hates Savannah's book to the point where she ripped out a chapter, but she still likes it enough to keep it on her bed.
Love that last picture of you and Bess.
Yeah, I love that one.
Love that last picture you sent.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yumi clearly has no idea what Nancy is talking about. Bess and George hang out with Yumi, but not with Nancy. Bess and George are bad friends. Who has passwords like this? Why does Yumi have this DVD? Nancy puts the DVD in upside down.
You're that Nancy girl who's been driving my assistant to distraction and back this last week.
Nancy called Logan once, but apparently that was enough to upset him all week. Savannah the ghost hunter is afraid of ghosts. She is bad at her job.
I think I ran across a trick mirror here.
Did it break?
Yeah, how did you know?
That's how you know it's a trick.
If Savannah is convinced the ghost is real, why is every Savannah conversation about how the hauntings were faked?
Can you help me translate an article I found? No one else is willing to.
Why can't Nancy use her Japanese dictionary to translate this article? Why can't Nancy ask a random person on the train to translate this article, or one of her students, or anyone else? How does Nancy know Logan's last name starts with the letter M? The article on Kasumi cuts off mid-sentence. Nancy doesn't bother to find the rest of the article. Why does Miwako keep a random tile in a guarded, locked box? Nancy plays with the tiles on the left, but she never touches the tiles on the right. Puzzle reused from Game 19. There is a two-way peephole in the nude baths. This is perverted. It is impossible for a peephole to connect the baths and the hidden room because the gardens are in between the two areas. Why did Rentaro and Miwako come down here to have a fight? Does Miwako see Nancy or not? If she sees Nancy, why doesn't she mention it? If she doesn't see Nancy, why does she switch to Japanese?
私のことはほっといて。
This is the only time someone speaks Japanese in this game. Everywhere else, the Japanese people speak English. Even when Nancy is the only guest, they still switch the baths from male to female every day. Even when Nancy is the only guest, they still have dozens of pairs of shoes here.
That thing you left in our room. No one should ever see something like that.
We never find out what was left in the man's room.
There's nothing there.
But I took care of their room after they left. Everything was torn up, and the shoji had turned this dark ash color.
The guest, Miwako, and Rentaro all disagree with each other on what happened. Rentaro scares away guests by staining the door and cutting up everything in the room. Why didn't he try doing that to scare Nancy? This puzzle.
You must place each item where it belongs.
And by that, I mean each item is already in place and you're not going to move them at all. Takai says nothing during this scene and pretends nothing happened.
Do you remember when Savannah Woodham visited?
I don't recognize the name.
She's the one who wrote about the ryokan.
I said I do not know who she is.
At this point, Nancy should pull out her copy of Savannah's book to jog Takai's memory.
No late night room service?
There is no room service at the ryokan.
No annoying tourists calling up at 4 in the morning?
The front desk is closed at 4 in the morning. In other games, Nancy is sensitive to people with dead relatives. In this game, Nancy's an absolute jerk to everyone about Kasumi. Of all people, Nancy should know what it's like to lose a mother. Do we ever learn what happened to Yumi and Miwako's father?
So when do we see you? We'll give you the book.
Well, I'm a little wrapped up right now.
You are not busy, Nancy.
Would you like a phone charm?
This one's not so pretty, but since it's from you, I like it.
But you were the one who gave me the phone charm in the first place. If you give Yumi the phone charm, then make bento, she gives the phone charm back to you. Logan got Bess a book and a full outfit on the first date? Logan's trying too hard. No book's title page puts a colon between by and the author's name. Also, there's no space after the colon. Rentaro tells Nancy all about the invention that she uses to defeat him. Culprit foils their own plot. Rentaro doesn't care if Nancy opens and shuts the door to his shed over and over. Nancy doesn't tell Miwako that she got the collar, not Rentaro. The only time Yumi visits the ryokan, Nancy is hiding behind a tree. How did Nancy not hear the keys splash in the water? She was 1 foot away from the pond. This puzzle.
I need to go to the origami book to do this.
But earlier you did origami without the book. Nancy follows a scavenger hunt, a fabulous treasure cliché. The ryokan grouped all the Sasakis together except one. Who came up with that room arrangement? There are no rooms 2, 4, 6, or 8. This puzzle. Culprit goes from mostly harmless sabotage to attempted murder with no prompting whatsoever. Nancy jumps off a second-story balcony with no injuries at all. Nancy never tells anyone about this death sequence.
So maybe you should check the records for a room that they don't let out to customers.
Nancy recognizes the room Savannah stayed in because they never let it out to customers. But if they never let it out to customers, why did they let Savannah stay there? The ryokan also doesn't let customers stay in rooms 3, 17, 21, 25, and 30, but Nancy doesn't bother investigating those rooms.
A passageway? To where?
I don't really remember exactly where it went.
How do you not remember where the hidden passageway leads? Nancy discovers a hidden passageway cliché. This puzzle requires you to form letters in a foreign language.
I didn't notice how late it was getting. I sort of made you miss your last train back to the ryokan.
That one bento puzzle took hours, apparently. This haunting never gets explained. Kasumi set up this complicated series of puzzles on the odd chance that she would die soon. Why did she leave a sword with her will? This puzzle. If you mess up on this puzzle, it's basically impossible to figure out where you made the mistake. There is no ghost in the room when Nancy starts the puzzle, so Rentaro must have snuck in and placed the ghost while Nancy was doing renograms. Where did this net come from? This puzzle.
The joint near the elbow looks a lot like what Rentaro was working on in his shed.
But instead of confronting the culprit right away, Nancy decides to chat with Takai about Kasumi's will instead. Nancy knows Rentaro is a culprit, but she still accuses Takai of being guilty. Why is there a work order for the room no one ever uses? What is Rentaro using the wrench on? There aren't any bolts on the wall.
What are you doing in here?
He's filling the work order, Nancy. Duh. Rentaro throws away his wrench for no reason.
I've got to find a way to keep him from escaping.
Rentaro's escape involves standing in place and staring at Nancy for 10 seconds. Why can't she let Rentaro escape? He doesn't have to be there for her to expose him to everyone else. Nancy traps a dangerous culprit in the same room as herself. That's not very safe. Rentaro attempts to kill Nancy twice in the game, but he doesn't try to kill her during the confrontation. Why does Nancy dump random inventory items on the ground here? How does Rentaro not see Nancy prepare the recorder? The veins on Rentaro's arms are popping out during the confrontation scene. I guess he was pumping weights just before getting captured.
I don't want to be here when you tell her.
According to the picture, you were.
Her classes in the traditional arts are booked for months in advance.
Her classes are booked months in advance? But why? Even when there were 5 families staying at the inn, Nancy was the only one to take the classes.
She said she'd always fit me in for a calligraphy lesson, even if it may be a bit of a lost cause.
Very well done, Nancy. This is the best I've ever seen from a new student.
Takai praises Nancy's work in the game, but in the ending, she hates Nancy's work. Earlier, Nancy's hair fell down to her shoulders. Now she appears to be bald. The game teases us with a fake picture of Nancy. I know I've complained about this before, but I don't like how the top inch of the screen is a black bar. I would rather have a larger screen. Also, super nitpicky complaint here, the water on the cover and title screen is not the water where the Yurei attacks Nancy.
Man only right now.
What do you mean?
Imaginations run wild.
What do you mean?
What she does.
What do you mean?
In more ways than one.
What do you mean?
To take its toll on her.
What do you mean?
Why would anyone want to stay?
What do you mean?
Not just some lines.
What do you mean?
You're wrong.
What do you mean?
I've heard too much about it already.
What do you mean?
Not to be with Rentaro.
What do you mean?
Just be very cautious.
What do you mean?
If I were you.
What do you mean?
Bad news.
What do you mean?
It's what found me.
What do you mean? With a note from the author.
What do you mean?
I'm not getting very far with Miwako.
What do you mean?
What was that just a minute ago?
What do you mean?
Did you rewrite my name in red ink?
What do you mean?
Those pictures you sent, isn't there?
What do you mean?
That's surprising.
What do you mean, surprising?
Especially now.
What do you mean, especially now?
Then it is gone. Forever.
What do you mean by that?
When you first meet him.
What do you mean by fake little brother?